Dead Island 2 is an upcoming action role-playing game that is being developed by Dambuster Studios and published by Deep Silver. This game is going to be a follow-up to the fan favorite Dead Island and will be the overall third entry in the series. The game has been in development for quite a few years now and has gone through many different iterations and changes. So let's break down everything we know about Dead Island 2, including the leaks, studio changes, and the current IP owner. As always, all the sources will be linked down below, so make sure to check those out and support the original writers. And with that out of the way, let's get into everything we know about Dead Island 2. The original Dead Island and Dead Island Riptide were released in 2011 and 2013 respectively, and were both developed by Techland, who is credited with creating the modern genre of first-person zombie games. Both games were received very well, and it made sense for the developer behind both games to continue the franchise, and that is what Deep Silver, the publisher, wanted as well, so work was started on Dead Island 2. Deep Silver did confirm that Techland was approached initially to continue working on the franchise, and Techland had even started doing some pre-coding planning for the game sometime before the release of Dead Island Riptide. But we aren't sure what exactly happened behind the scenes, but for whatever reason, Techland decided to work on something new and went on to go work on the Dying Light franchise, which left Deep Silver in a tough position where they now had to find a new developer to take over the Dead Island IP. In 2012, Deep Silver started accepting pitches for Dead Island 2, and Yaeger Studios, who had previously worked on Spec Ops: The Line, went and pitched their take on the Dead Island franchise. Deep Silver approved of the pitch and work was started on the game in late 2012. Yaeger then was hard at work during 2013, and we got our first look at the game in 2014 at E3. Our first look was in the form of the now very popular trailer, and we also got two official descriptions for the game. One said, quote, "Several months after the events of Banoi, the United States military has put the Golden State under full quarantine. Now a restricted zone, California has become a bloody paradise for those who refuse to leave their homes and an action-packed playground for renegades who seek adventure. Glory and a fresh start, combining the classic Dead Island elements of immersive close combat, action, and role-playing. Dead Island 2 features crazy, never-before-seen handcrafted weapons and over-the-top characters, in taking players from the iconic Golden Gate to the celebrated beachfront boardwalk of Southern California's Venice Beach." The other description said, quote, "The one and only Dead Island is heading to the Golden State, and we're bringing the zombie apocalypse to a whole new level. Experience the new generation zombie co-op vacation with Dead Island 2, and enjoy exclusive content on the PlayStation 4 in spring 2015. So it would have been a relatively quick development turnaround for the studio. They didn't start working on the game until late 2012, and they already had a trailer and started showing off the game in mid-2014 with a mid-2015 release date. So around 2.5 years of full development. After E3, the studio had around a year until release. 2 months later, in August of 2014, the first gameplay was shown off at Gamescom, and fans were mixed. Some didn't like the style of the game, including the area, zombies, and weapons, and also some community members had problems with overall the feel and how cartoony the game had become from the first two entries. Also, fans were cautious with the PlayStation 4 exclusive content, what that actually meant and how long the content would be exclusive for, and what that meant for the series moving forward. We learned at the game demo that the game would have 4 playable characters and would be up to 8-player co-op. I could spend a ton of time going through all the details we know about this game, but it's out of the scope of this video. If there's enough interest, I can always revisit this and make an entire video covering Yaeger's canceled Dead Island game, but as I said, that's a whole nother video, and they really had the chance to make their own game and how they wanted to. Which was unfortunate because there were disagreements behind the scenes between Yaeger and Deep Silver. In April of 2015, Deep Silver announced that Dead Island 2 was going to be delayed until 2016. The announcement said, quote, "We have always set ourselves a big goal for Dead Island 2 to create the sequel that takes Dead Island to the next level. A game that takes what our fans tell us they love about Dead Island, multiple different characters to play with, co-op, and turning a paradise setting into a zombie slaughter melee, and a game that adds a ton more content and combat options on top of that. And we wanted to have all of that done for release in spring 2015. We have been looking at the game long and hard, and we have decided we didn't reach that goal we set out to achieve quite yet. This is why we have decided to delay Dead Island 2 to 2016. Right now we are focusing purely on development, and we will have more info to share at a later stage. We know that our fans will be disappointed by this news, but by giving Dead Island 2 more time, we are confident that everyone will get a better game to play as a result. Which does make sense, but it did start to get fans worried about what that meant. The game did have a really quick turnaround, so delaying it 1 year wasn't a problem, but little did we know at the time that this would be a long string of delays and changes. Because just 1 month later, in July of 2015, Yaeger's version of Dead Island 2 was effectively cancelled. In an update on Facebook, Yaeger described the reason as, quote, "Yaeger and Deep Silver's respective visions of the project fell out of alignment," which led to the decision of parting ways and having a new developer work on the game. Deep Silver said Dead Island 2 would still be moving forward, but they were now looking again for developers, and Yaeger was working on their own projects, which was very strange considering at this time the game could have been released if they still had the initial release date, and they'd already done so much marketing in terms of gameplay and trailers and pushing the game, and for such a last minute change to be cancelled and to find something new is very obscure. And we didn't hear about what studio took over until March of 2016. It was announced that Sumo Digital would be working on Dead Island 2. They'd previously worked on Forza Horizon 2, Little Big Planet 3, and many more games. And Deep Silver described the relationship saying, quote, "Sumo showed so much understanding of the brand, had creative ideas, and an excellent vision that aligned with our own. It just made perfect sense for us to move the project to them. We will reveal more details at a later stage, but for now I'd like to say we are obviously super excited about the progress that we are making with them." And not too much is known about the time that Sumo Digital was working on Dead Island. The game development stayed very quiet, and from all the comments that we heard about the game, it sounded like they weren't starting over, that they were going to keep building off Yaeger's original pitch, and we don't know what really happened behind the scenes and what they were tasked with changing or fixing or making it so their visions realigned. And we didn't hear anything about the development until 2018 when it was announced that THQ Nordic acquired Deep Silver, which meant we would most likely see changes to the development of Dead Island 2 under the new leadership. And these thoughts were realized in a THQ earnings report when they announced that Dead Island 2 had shifted developers again and is now being worked on by Dambuster Studios. The direct quote said, "Deep Silver's Dambuster Studios formed in 2014 following the friendly takeover of Crytek UK, formerly known as Free Radical Design, which was founded back in 1999. Their inaugural title, first-person shooter Homefront: The Revolution, was released in 2016. Based in Nottingham, the studio is at the forefront of the UK games development industry as one of the largest and most successful studios in the country, known for its Time Splitter series. Dambuster Studios has recently been entrusted with the Dead Island franchise, bringing the development of this key franchise to one of the group's internal studios. They are now leading the development of Dead Island 2, and the earnings report also states that the game is still being developed for the PS4, PC, and Xbox One, which even seemed weird at the time, considering how close we are to getting to the end of a generation, if it still would be worth it to release the game on current-gen consoles. Especially if there was an initial deal with PlayStation at the beginning for exclusive content, I could see PlayStation wanting to push them now to, well, we didn't get exclusive content, could we get the game on PS5 early? Could we get the game on PS5 first? So I wouldn't be surprised if we still see some form of deal happen with PlayStation. We also got more information about the game through job listings. Dambuster Studios has a job opening for art director for the new Dead Island game, and the description says, quote, "The City of Angels is now the city of the undead, and so we need you to lead our art team as they create the sun-soaked backdrop to a full-scale zombie apocalypse set across the iconic Californian city for the next installment in the world-renowned Dead Island franchise." And a producer job at Dambusters as well says they are planning a AAA title for next-gen consoles and PC platforms. So it seems like the game is still going to take place in California. We aren't sure how much of Yaeger's original pitch they're going to keep, if they scrapped it all and just kept the location, or if they're going to try to reuse assets, ideas, weapons, and maybe just modifying it along with some of the concerns fans had originally with art direction, color, weapons, how cartoony it was, and if they're just going to fix that but keep the base of the game the same. It's also interesting that now it says next-gen consoles and PC platforms and says nothing about current gen, so it could have been scrapped altogether when they started reworking the game and just decided to only make this a next-gen exclusive. There was a leaked version of Dead Island 2 that was uploaded on 4chan, and was from a June 2015 version of the game when Yaeger was still working on the project. The build of the game was from 1 month before the fallout of Yaeger in Deep Silver. The intro cinematic was finished, but there were still quite a few placeholders for details that were in the game, and the game was obviously not finished and they still had a lot more time to develop with the delay, so they were expecting at least another year to really polish and get it together. It is in a playable form, and I know videos are kind of going up and down. There were a lot of uploads initially and a bunch were taken down, so just be cautious. The videos aren't too hard to find, but you can get an idea of what Yaeger's vision for the game was going to be before it was canceled. So obviously it seems like it was pretty far ahead, so there must have been some deep problems between Deep Silver and Yaeger for them to split when the game could have been polished, shipped, and then they could have gotten a new studio to work on Dead Island 3. But for the most part, that is everything we know about Dead Island 2. The game has gone through many different iterations. The game is currently being developed by Dambuster Studios, and they are still hiring key members of their team to work on the game. So I wouldn't expect this game for quite a while as they fill out these positions and start working on it, what sounds like, again, if it is going to be for next-gen consoles. We aren't too sure what Sumo Digital did during their time working on the game, but it sounds like once again it's being rebooted and reworked. They're still planning for the location of the game to be in California. Yaeger's version was almost finished before they did split with the IP owner Deep Silver. Then the game was reworked again by Sumo Digital, and then the developer changed again when Deep Silver was purchased by THQ Nordic. Hopefully we don't have to wait too much longer for the game and we can start seeing some early teases, then hopefully a release date in the next few years. Make sure to like and share this video, subscribe for weekly gaming news, and I will see you guys in the next one.